Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into something today that, might not scream excitement at first glance, but trust me, this is gold for any business owner out there. We're talking about tax calendars.
Tax calendars.
Yeah, I know.
Not the most
glamorous topic. It's not exactly like, a tropical vacation or something.
Yeah.
But we've got a stack of articles here. 10 ejemplos de calendarios fiscales. La importancia de elaborar un calendario fiscal con antelación. Calendario fiscal. La importancia de saber cuándo hay que pagar impuestos y qué impuestos. And conoce el calendario fiscal de una empresa y lleva tu PINE al día Kashloki. And they all point to one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Having some kind of system for keeping track of your taxes is
crucial.
Yeah, crucial.
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of people, even if they hear tax calendar, they might not actually know what that means. So what exactly is a tax calendar? What are we talking about here?
A tax calendar is like a roadmap for all your tax-related obligations throughout the year. It tells you not just when to pay, but what to pay, and what you need to have prepared beforehand.
Okay.
Now, it's different from a fiscal year, which is just about tracking your financial activity.
Okay.
A tax calendar is all about the deadlines. It lays out when you have to report that activity. And most importantly, making sure that you are in compliance with all the tax laws.
So if a fiscal year is like keeping a ship's log, the tax calendar is the map that helps you avoid hitting those reefs.
Exactly.
Okay.
And just like a captain who ignores their charts, a business owner ignoring their tax calendar, well, they can run into some serious trouble.
Yeah.
Calendario fiscal. La importancia de saber cuándo hay que pagar impuestos y qué impuestos really hammered that point home.
Yeah.
They said missing deadlines can lead to all sorts of problems, hefty penalties, legal issues, and in some cases, it can even put the entire business at risk.
That's a risk nobody wants to take. So why should businesses in particular care so much about this? I mean, everyone has to pay taxes, right?
Sure, we all have to pay taxes, but for businesses, things get complicated quickly.
In what way?
Well, conoce el calendario fiscal de una empresa y lleva tu PYME al día, Cashlogy, highlighted this, saying that businesses have different types of taxes to deal with than individuals.
Like what?
Income tax, obviously. But then you have things like VAT or sales tax, payroll taxes, and then potentially even more depending on your industry and location.
Got it.
Each one has its own set of deadlines and requirements.
So it's not just about remembering to file a single tax return once a year, like many individuals do.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Businesses might have quarterly tax payments, monthly payroll tax deductions. It can be a whole lot to juggle. And la importancia de elaborar un calendario fiscal con antelación even mentions different forms of tax payment. Some are annual, some quarterly, and some are even monthly. So having a tax calendar helps businesses stay on top of all these different deadlines,
right,
ensuring timely payments and avoiding those penalties we talked about.
Okay, so a tax calendar is like our comprehensive checklist to avoid any tax-related disasters. Mm-hmm. But what kind of specific events and deadlines typically go on a tax calendar? What are we actually putting on this thing?
Well, 10 ejemplos de calendarios fiscales gives us a good overview.
Okay.
It highlights things like income tax deadlines, which vary depending on your business structure, VAT payments, which again might be monthly or quarterly, and filing deadlines for what they call informational returns, which are reports on specific business transactions to tax authorities.
So it's not just about paying taxes, it's about reporting information too.
That's right. And 10 ejemplos de calendarios fiscales actually shows examples of calendars that are specifically tailored for different types of businesses, like sole proprietorships, partnerships, and corporations. Each one has its own set of deadlines. And la importancia de elaborar un calendario fiscal con antelación says you can even personalize these calendars further, adding deadlines for things like property taxes if you own your business premises, or estimated tax payments, based on what you think you're going to make.
So it's not one size fits all, just like taxes themselves.
Yeah.
But all this talk about deadlines and obligations and, it's kind of making me anxious.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example of where things went wrong for a business that wasn't on top of its tax game? Hypothetically, of course, no need to name names.
Of course, confidentiality is key.
Right.
But I've definitely seen cases where businesses missed crucial deadlines, and it's led to some significant financial setbacks.
Yeah.
Imagine a small business owner, they're diligently building their company, things are going well, and then, bam, they're hit with a massive penalty for a late VAT payment.
Oh, that's rough.
All of a sudden, they're scrambling to cover the costs, it puts a strain on your cash flow, and it can even jeopardize their future growth.
That's a tough lesson to learn. calendario fiscal?
La importancia de saber cuándo hay que pagar impuestos y qué impuestos had a similar warning, right?
Yeah.
They said something about staying organized being absolutely crucial to avoid these kinds of issues.
Exactly. It's not just about avoiding penalties. It's about protecting the hard work that you put into your business.
Yeah.
It's about ensuring its long-term success.
Okay, so we've established that a tax calendar is pretty much essential for any business, especially given all these potential pitfalls. But with all this complexity, is it even realistic for businesses to manage this on their own?
That's where tax professionals come in. They can help you navigate these deadlines, interpret complex regulations, and ensure you're taking advantage of all the deductions and credits available to you.
So it's not just about filing the paperwork, it's about making sure you're doing everything correctly and potentially even saving money in the process.
Exactly.
Calendario fiscal. La importancia de saber cuándo hay que pagar impuestos y qué impuestos stress that having expert guidance can be a game changer for businesses, especially as their operations grow and get more complex.
Right.
A good advisor can help you develop a proactive tax strategy rather than just reacting to deadlines as they pop up.
That makes a lot of sense. Before we dive deeper into the role of tax professionals, though, 10 ejemplos, the calendarios fiscales, showed a bunch of different types of calendars. It wasn't just one standard format. What are some of the variations businesses might encounter?
That's a good point. There are indeed different types of tax calendars, and they each kind of cater to specific needs and levels of detail. Some businesses might just use a simple annual calendar that just gives them a high-level overview of the key dates throughout the year. Other businesses might need a more granular, like a monthly or even quarterly calendar to track more frequent obligations.
So there's a spectrum of complexity depending on the business and its tax obligations.
Exactly. And 10 ejemplos de calendarios fiscales highlights the benefit of custom calendars. You can tailor these calendars to fit the specific needs of your business, adding or removing elements as your operations evolve.
So it's all about finding the right tool for the job.
Exactly. The key is to choose a system that provides the right level of detail without becoming overwhelming.
Right.
A well-structured tax calendar should make your life easier, not more complicated.
Okay, so we've got a good handle on what tax calendars are, why they're so important for businesses, and some of the different types that exist. I'm sure there's a lot more to unpack, though. What are we diving into next in our exploration of tax calendars?
Well, now that we've laid the groundwork, I think it's time to delve into the practicalities of actually using these calendars effectively.
Okay.
How do businesses keep them updated? What role do tax advisors play in this process? And how can you make sure you're really getting the most out of your tax calendar? We'll tackle all of that and more in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds like a plan. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're in the middle of, we're trying to unlock the secrets of tax calendars and how they can help businesses avoid those tax headaches.
That's right. We've talked about why having a tax calendar is so important, but now let's get into the how to actually use one effectively.
Okay, so let's say I'm a business owner and I've picked out my calendar. Maybe I'm starting with a simple annual one. What's the first step?
Yeah.
How do I make this thing actually work for me?
The key is to make it actionable. Don't just jot down the dates and forget about it.
Right.
Conoce el calendario fiscal de una empresa y lleva tu pyme al día cada año. Put it really well. They said you should think of your calendar as a command center, like a mission control for all your tax-related tasks.
I like that.
Every deadline on that calendar should trigger a series of smaller steps.
So instead of just writing file VAT return on a certain date, I need to break it down into smaller steps.
Exactly. Ask yourself, what information do I need to gather for this? Are there any specific forms I need to fill out? Should I talk to my tax advisor about this beforehand?
So it's like making a mini project plan for each tax obligation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And one thing people often forget, set reminders.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Set them well in advance of the deadline. That way you're not, scrambling at the last minute.
No more all-nighters fueled by coffee and panic. I like where this is going.
Speaking of panic, la importancia de elaborar un calendario fiscal con antelación mentions something that can make tax season a lot less stressful. Keep your financial records organized throughout the year.
Oh, right. Easy to say, harder to do.
I know, but this is where technology can really be a game changer.
Oh, yeah, those expense tracking apps. Do those actually help?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Some apps can do things like automatically categorize your expenses. They can link to your bank accounts to track transactions. Some can even scan your receipts. That way you don't have to manually enter every little detail.
That sounds way better than digging through a shoebox full of crumpled receipts.
Right.
Okay, so technology and organization are key. But businesses change, they grow, regulations change. How often should people be revisiting and updating their tax calendars to make sure they're staying on top of everything?
At the very least, you should review and update your calendar at the beginning of each year. Think of it as like a financial spring cleaning.
I like that.
But it's not just an annual event. Calendario fiscal. La importancia de saber cuándo hay que pagar impuestos y qué impuestos was very clear about this. Any significant change in your business should trigger a calendar update.
So things like hiring new employees or expanding into a new state or even changing your business structure.
Exactly. And don't forget about tax laws. Those are always changing. Conoce el calendario fiscal de una empresa y lleva tu pyme al día. Cashlogy had a whole section on staying informed. Subscribe to reputable tax publications. Set up Google alerts or something so you're notified if any laws change.
So it's about being proactive, anticipating changes, and making sure your tax calendar is always reflecting your current situation.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this is another area where having a solid relationship with your tax advisor is so valuable.
Right, because they would know about these changes.
Exactly. They can keep you in the loop about any legal or regulatory changes that might affect your tax obligations.
So it's not just about calling them when you need to file something. It's about having that ongoing communication and collaboration.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Regular check-ins can help make sure you're both on the same page about deadlines and responsibilities.
That makes sense. I mean, two heads are better than one, right?
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about something as complicated as taxes. Kind of the importancia de saber cuándo hay que pagar impuestos y qué impuestos. Really hammered home that point about expert guidance.
It did, and they went a step further. They said you shouldn't just be talking to your advisor about specific deadlines. You should be reviewing your entire tax strategy with them on a regular basis. They can help you find deductions you might be missing. They can help you figure out if there are any tax-saving opportunities you could be taking advantage of, and they can make sure you're not overpaying.
So a tax advisor isn't just like a firefighter putting out fires. They're a strategist. They're helping you optimize your entire financial picture.
Exactly.
Got it.
A good advisor is a partner in your financial success, not just someone you call when you're in trouble.
That's a great point. So we've talked about making those tax calendars actionable, keeping them updated, and communicating with our tax advisors. What else should we know to make these calendars truly effective tools?
Well, now that we've got the fundamentals down, let's talk about some specific strategies and techniques for maximizing the power of your tax calendar.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of tax calendars, and I'm really starting to see how these things can be, more than just a list of due dates. They're like a strategic roadmap for a business, a way to really stay on top of your financial health.
Exactly. We've covered the basics, but now let's look at how to really make a tax calendar work for you.
Okay, so we've talked about breaking down those big deadlines into smaller, manageable steps and using technology to stay organized. What are some other tips or tricks that businesses can use to maximize the power of their tax calendar?
Well, one thing, la importancia de elaborar un calendario fiscal con antelación, talked about, was the idea of forward planning. Don't just focus on the deadlines that are right in front of you.
Right.
Think about how the decisions you're making now might affect your tax obligations down the road.
So it's not just about putting out fires, it's about preventing them.
Exactly. Like, let's say you're thinking about making a big purchase for your business. Well, you need to factor in the potential tax implications. Will it be deductible? Will it affect your depreciation schedule? Talking to your tax advisor about these things beforehand can help you make smarter decisions.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about being proactive and strategic instead of reactive, scrambling at the last minute. Okay, so forward planning is key.
Yeah, and another strategy is to actually use your tax calendar for financial forecasting.
Okay.
By mapping out your expected income and expenses throughout the year. You can get a clearer picture of what your tax liability might be.
So instead of getting hit with a huge tax bill at the end of the year and being totally caught off guard, you can anticipate it and plan accordingly.
Exactly.
Okay.
This can help you adjust your spending, make estimated tax payments if you need to, or even explore things like deferring income or accelerating deductions to lower your tax bill.
It's like having a crystal ball for your taxes.
Kinda, yeah. And Conoce el calendario fiscal de una empresa y lleva tu pyme al día a día. Khashoggi made a really good point about communication. They said it's crucial to make sure that everyone in your business who handles financial matters is aware of the tax calendar.
Right.
And its deadlines.
So it's not just the business owner's responsibility, it's a team effort.
Absolutely. Having clear communication between departments like finance, accounting, and even sales, well, it can help make sure everyone's on the same page and working together to meet those obligations.
It's like a well-oiled machine, everyone working in sync to avoid any tax-related disasters.
Exactly.
But let's be real. Even with the best planning and communication, mistakes happen. What should a business do if they realize they've messed up or missed a deadline?
First things first, contact your tax advisor immediately.
Okay.
Don't try to hide it or fix it yourself.
Right.
Tax professionals deal with this kind of stuff all the time, and they can often help minimize the damage.
Honesty is the best policy, even when it comes to taxes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The sooner you address the issue, the better your chances of finding a solution.
Makes sense.
And calendario fiscal. La importancia de saber cuándo hay que pagar impuestos y qué impuestos pointed out that tax authorities are often more lenient with businesses that are upfront about their mistakes. If you show them that you're willing to make things right, they're more likely to work with you.
So having that good relationship with your tax advisor can really be a lifesaver in those moments of, panic.
It really can. And remember, even if you haven't made any mistakes, it's still a good idea to review your overall tax situation with your advisor on a regular basis.
Right.
They can help you find areas where you can improve and make sure you're taking advantage of every opportunity.
It's like a financial checkup.
Exactly.
Making sure everything is running smoothly.
And by being proactive, organized, and staying informed, you can actually change your whole relationship with taxes. Instead of being a source of stress, it becomes just another manageable part of running your business.
I like that. Turning taxes from a burden into I don't know if I'd say a fun part of the business, but at least something that's less intimidating.
Right.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of tax calendars, what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing to remember is that a tax calendar is more than just a compliance tool. It's a strategic asset that can really help businesses achieve greater financial stability and success.
It's about shifting your mindset, right? From fear and avoidance to empowerment and control.
Exactly.
Embrace the tax calendar, make it your ally, and watch your business thrive.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of tax calendars. We hope you found it informative and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, happy planning.